welcome today to Shane Pinner from the Tonkin Group as part of this Business Spotlight interview series. So welcome, Shane.
G'day, Phil. How are you going?
I'm going fantastically well, thank you. Shane, maybe if we just start out with explaining what it is that you actually do.
Yep. So what I actually do here at Tonkin is I'm managing director. I also run the refrigeration HVAC section, so I oversee all that. I have a couple of different managers underneath to run the guys day to day. But as a general rule, I work very closely with those guys to make sure that area is going along as it needs to be. Yep. And also run the business in conjunction with James Tonkin. So James and I would be considered, I suppose, or we're both managing directors, so I suppose we're joint CEOs of the company as well. So, right. So there's a lot to do every day.
Okay, and how long have you been within the Tonkin Group then?
Well, within the Tonkin Group, it's been 2.5 years.
Right, yep.
In 2020, August 2020, I merged Pinner's Refrigeration into the Tonkin Group.
Right.
Back then, 2.5 years ago, it was predominantly just plumbing, just a plumbing business, Tonkin. And it's obviously plumbing and relining, and they started to branch off into some heating and cooling. And the way it came about was I wanted to grow in this probably a similar vein to how James and Victoria had grown. We're very good friends outside of business anyway, so we'd always spoken a lot about that. But it sort of made sense that we just collaborate together and come together because we wanted the same things out of each other's business. So why not just bring
fantastic. And how long had you been in business for prior to the merger then?
Prior to the merger, it was approximately 20 years. 20 years in Pinner's Refrigeration. Then I had some other businesses before that. So pretty much, I've only ever had really 2 jobs in my life. And the third job I took on was the business. So about 25 years ago, I started in business and went from one to the other. So
fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your journey and maybe more so prior to the merger.
Yep.
So what were some of the key things that you really learned about being in business and as part of that business journey?
Okay, so there's a lot of learnings that you get from being in business. Probably the most important thing is that you can't please everyone. So being a people pleaser, you know, if that's your style or your way, then you're going to have to adopt a different way or a different coping mechanism around it because you're just not going to please everyone. It's a very difficult road to take, and you'll just burn yourself out. So, but having said that, you've got to bring your best every day, put your best foot forward. So it's a difficult journey in that you have to do that. You have to front up every day. You have to give your best you can. But some days that might only be 70%.
Yep.
Is the best you can give. And that's where I find it here at Tonkin. It's great because we've got so many other senior managers around that, you know, if you do have a flat day, then you've got other people around that can bring you up. But getting back to just sort of working by yourself in business, it's really, really important that self-care. I know a lot of business owners that we're always going down the path of, oh, I've never had a holiday in 20 years or, you know, you've probably seen them yourself and coached them yourself, but that self-care and that helping yourself along the way, because, you know, you do have to front up and give as best you can every day. Like I said, it might not be 100%, but it's got to be the best you can muster every day.
Absolutely. And I guess, Shane, what you're alluding to here, it can actually be very lonely in business.
Absolutely.
Particularly when you haven't got a great support network around you.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and you know, coming from small business, so we're classed now as a medium-sized business, medium-sized enterprise. We've got roughly 90 staff. So it's there's a lot of people. There's a lot of different issues when you get to that size, but the issues that aren't necessarily not there when you're smaller. They're just different issues, you know, and they're a lot harder to deal with because it's just generally one person.
Yes.
With everything. So you really have to, it is very lonely, and you really have to take care of yourself. And that's probably the most important thing that I've learned on my journey, is to take care of myself.
Yes.
More so than, more so than, I suppose, if you've got a job and you can switch off at the end of the day, and you're never really switched off during business or when you're running a business. So
there's always something to be thinking about.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so when you think about, maybe going back to some of those earlier days, what were some of the biggest business issues that you needed to overcome?
Of course, the financial aspect. So you need to be able to read what the numbers are telling you. So from a business perspective, that whole analytical style of business, if you're not doing that, then you don't know what anything's doing, where anything's going. You need to have a good accountant to help you through that. And I found early days with the accountants I had early days, I had to keep probing them. I had to continually ask questions. I had to educate myself. So I wasn't so much reliant on someone to give me the answers all the time. It was a self-education process.
Yeah.
And it's lucky I've been interested in that my whole life. So I started reading a lot of books from the time I was, business books and personal development books from the time I was sort of 16, 17. So for me, it was a bit of a natural journey, but I think that's, it's progressed me probably, 5 to 10 years, in a matter of months by reading and trying to understand things, and
Yes.
getting to probe rather than just accepting what was told to me.
And it's interesting that you raise that, Shane, because one of the things that I see, and I probably have to put my hand up and say I've been guilty of it some stage in my corporate career, of we go to college, we get our education, our training, we go into business and we start doing what we do, and then we stop learning. We think we've learned it all. But the reality is that you must keep learning, and I really applaud you for adopting at such a young age that investing in business books, investing in personal development books.
Yep.
I mean, it's something that is just so important in business. So well done.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was I think the reason that probably became evident to me at a young age was my father was in business pretty much his whole life, but he was the real technician. He would be able to fix anything, and to see some of the things that he probably missed out on because he wasn't educated in those, or he wasn't self-educated, didn't necessarily need a tertiary education, but you got to know some certain things and the way the business is going and be able to read the numbers. And he sort of stayed away from that, and I saw that it didn't serve him well in the end, So it took us going out in business ourselves to sort of get him and Mum beyond that sort of that pain threshold. But at a young age, I thought I don't want to be like that. I definitely want to be in business. And he was he had a great work ethic and a great attitude towards everything, but I didn't want to be in that same boat of not having any control over where anything was going on, or even understanding any of the business side. I didn't necessarily want to just be the technician.
Yeah. So you've talked a lot about understanding the numbers.
Yep.
How has that actually helped you in business by knowing your numbers? Because one of the things that I see a lot of is that a lot of business owners don't like to look at their numbers, or let alone try to understand them. So can you explain how has that actually helped you by understanding your numbers in business?
What just makes things a lot easier. So, at our level now, you can make really quick decisions based on the analytics that you do. And now we do a lot more analytics because we've got so many people to help us in that space. James and I do a really good job of that, and we try and drill down on things every month.
Yes.
And even bi-monthly if we can. We're always constantly reviewing the numbers, but I think it's part of a business. You can't have a business and then have the numbers separate. I think they're one and the same. You can't say that you're a business owner if you leave a part of the business to someone else.
Yes.
you're a business owner, but a full business owner, you're still working and not understanding why you're doing it or what you're doing it for. So I suppose that the thing that it really drills down into for me is that you can just make decisions really quickly, knowing exactly where you are financially, knowing what's coming in, knowing what's got to go out, knowing your cash flow position. They're pretty basic things, but it comes down to decision making for me. You're pretty much on the ball. You know where things are going, where they're heading.
And it's about making those right decisions when you do know what the numbers are. So, and it's not only just the financial numbers; it's also your operational KPI numbers that you
absolutely
will be looking at as well. So,
we break at Tonkin here. We break down. We have a spreadsheet. Every single person is entered into the spreadsheet, so it gives us cost analysis for our hourly rate. We know how much the business costs per hour to run, so we know how much to charge our guys out, and that's, if we cover that, then that's good, But there's plenty of business out. I've seen the trade space, especially. There's plenty of guys running around doing work for $60 an hour. Probably costs them $80 an hour.
Absolutely, yeah.
They wonder why they can't make money, or they can't upgrade their equipment, or they can't buy new tools or something like that. And that's just it's honestly, you're better off working for wages.
Oh, most definitely. And so, Shane, how do you keep yourself inspired to get out of bed every day and go to work? How do you inspire? How do you keep inspired?
Personally, inspiration for me is, it's a funny one. I like to get inspired by people, but I think it's very fleeting and short-lived. The inspiration, if you like, comes from the sense of responsibility that I have. So I know I need to get up, and we've got, it's no different to how I was at Pinners. We had 12 staff, say, at Pinners. We've got 80 staff here. Most of them have got partners, some have got kids. So we're talking probably, 160 with partners, and then you probably push it out to 250 people or more that are directly living out of this business. That comes down to James and I making sure that the business works and is profitable. So people say, it's a lot on your shoulders, but it's just a responsibility that you take on. So responsibility of getting up every day and giving my best and doing what we can do to help serve our clients that's, I suppose, where the inspiration comes from.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, I've just recently, a couple of years ago, had a little fella, and we've got another one on the way. So, you look at home, and there's inspiration there to obviously to show the younger generation how to go about it. Give them some instilled work ethic and not just be, I suppose, just floundering through life and I'll go today, I won't go tomorrow, and show some responsibility. And that I think it's good that he sees Dad going to work and comes home in the afternoons.
Yeah, and Shane, you mentioned before that you've done a lot of reading and a lot of learning.
Yep.
Have you come across any, I guess, quotes that you could say would be, that's one of my favourite quotes. That's how I live by.
It's fun. I don't have any mantras as such, apart from get out and have a crack. I always come back to get out and have a crack. I've never been one to sit on my hands really and think about something. But on my phone, I have a whole separate photo album of quotes that I get from through Facebook or social media. So I save them in there, and if I'm having a flat day or a flat week, because we all do, I look to those, and you see a lot of those. But I like Zig Ziglar has some good quotes.
Yes.
And actually, it's probably not so much to do with business, but some stuff that Jordan Peterson puts out about life and about fronting up as a man and that sort of thing. Like I sort of take notice of those sort of guys. Tony Robbins is also good. I really like Tony Robbins. A lot of people don't, but I think he has some fairly powerful stuff to say. But You know, there's always going to be negatives and positives in that space, in that coaching space or whatever. But I feel there's so much stuff out there. There's so many things that you can grab hold of, but I do feel inspiration has to come from within. If you're relying on external sources to give you inspiration, that's only fleeting, and it's gonna fade away pretty quick.
Yeah, and look, I couldn't agree more. And there is so many quotes out there.
Yep.
What's important is how you actually relate to it yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
What does it actually mean for you?
Yep.
And how is that inspiring you? How's it driving you? How's it keeping you in what I call above the point of power?
Yep.
And so awesome stuff. In terms then, one last question. What would you say to anybody that was thinking about going into business today?
Ooh. You see a lot of them. You would see a lot, and some businesses you look at and they start on, social media or whatever, and you think, you're really going to throw your time and energy and effort into this. Like, you've got to consider what you're doing, consider what your market is, consider how big that market is. Is it going to be return clientele or are they one-offs?
Mm-hmm.
All those sort of things. Then consider your capital, how much time it's going to take. Is it worthwhile doing? Because the catchphrase of late has been the thing on the side where they call it doing a side hustle. And it's like, really? Do you have you got enough time to invest into something that potentially won't work? Like, if you're going to do something, you might as well have a go at it. But I can understand some side hustles are going to work, and but there's a lot of them that won't. And I think you really have to analyze what you're doing, get some market analytics, even if it's just yourself. You don't have to pay anyone to do it, but there are companies out there that will do it if you want to go to that extent. But having a real look, take the emotion out of it, of saying, oh, I'm starting a business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And let's look at it properly and say, who will it actually serve? How will it serve them? What's it going to provide the community?
Yes.
Will there be continued use for that service or product or whatever it is? It's no point investing your life savings into something that someone's only going to buy once, and you're going to set up a market and have no ability no ability to sell anything. So I think that analytical side, obviously you've got to have passion, you've got to have the desire to want to get up even when it's cold and go out and do the things that you need to do. And in our case, or hot, you've got to be able to get on a roof and do the things you need to do. But I think the desire to help someone, which is in your clients, the desire to solve a problem for them and to be that person, you need first and foremost, and then that analytical stuff, you really need to have a good hard look at all that to make sure it's actually going to fly.
Shane, some great advice there. Thank you for that. So, any one last thing that you might want to say at this point?
Yeah, look, even back on that last question, if there is someone that's looking to go out into business, I would say educate yourself. If they're fair income about taking that next step, educate yourself as much as you can. Read. There's plenty of books out there that you can read. And if it's not directly related to your business or a business, there's always something that you'll pick up from a book. And you might read the whole book and pick up one thing, but that little gold nugget could serve you well. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books over the last 30 years, and the little pieces that just sit in your subconscious that might come up during a meeting or anything that just helps you along the way. It's amazing how it works. But I would say just educate yourself and get prepared to have a really hard slog at it and give it your best. If that's what you really want, then go for it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Shane. So if anybody is interested in chatting with Shane at Tonkin Group for all things plumbing, air conditioning and refrigeration, please reach out to Shane.
Roofing and drainage, relining, all that. Electrical.
So check out their website.
That's it.
Okay, thanks so much, Shane.
Thanks, Phil.